What's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back, everyone. My name is Michael Taylor with Michael Taylor Research, and thank you for checking out yet another video on health. And today I want to talk about diet. And before I get into it, I just wanted to come out and say that this is not dietitian advice. You know, I don't claim to be a doctor or a physician or know anything about nutrition. You know, I don't want you to take everything that I say to heart, and I don't want you to believe everything that I say. I just encourage you to have an open mind, and I just want to share with you some of the experiences that I've had, and hopefully that'll help you to understand, you know, my perspective on health, and maybe it'll help you to develop your own perspective. So I guess today I will answer what we should eat and some of the things that I choose not to eat. So to begin with, I think that the easiest way for me to explain my diet is for us to be eating our water. So a majority of people will say, you know, fruits and veggies, and you know, that seems to be a pretty universal sound reasoning for you know, us to eat those things. So I just plan to take this a little bit further and to explain why I choose to be more of a fruitarian rather than a vegetarian, and hopefully that'll make sense. Also, I just wanted to note that I've been through probably 15 different diets, you know, paleo, ketogenic, vegan, vegetarian, just, I mean, countless different diets. And ultimately what I've come to is that water is the most important part of our diet, and I think that fruit is the most attractive and healthiest food that we should be eating as human beings. So hopefully I can explain that. So like I said, I think we should eat our water, and fruits are 80% water. So if you think about, you know, watermelon and oranges and bananas and cucumbers, all of these things are mainly comprised of water, which is really good for our digestion. It's really great fiber. It has a ton of nutrients and minerals and vitamins. You know, it's nature's fast food. So if you think about, rather than going to McDonald's and getting a hamburger, why not just pick up an orange, which is already wrapped, right? It is filtered water, so you don't have to worry about the water inside of it being dirty or nasty or whatever. It's already naturally filtered, and it's incredibly healthy for you. So that applies to just about any fruit that I can think of. Obviously there are exceptions with the pesticides and the outer skin of like apples and things like that. You know, definitely something to consider, but ultimately I think that kind of stuff is much better for you than eating 3 Big Macs and a bowl of mac and cheese every day. So that's just my opinion. Some people will argue that if you just eat fruit, you will have too much sugar and your teeth will rot, and you know, that's not good. But my new understanding of how food works is that sugar is ultimately the greatest form of energy for the human body. Carbs and fats and things like that, they give us energy, but ultimately sugar is the best way of transmitting that energy efficiently. And that's why human beings are so attracted to sugar, right? That's why we love desserts, and we love cake and donuts and sugary drinks. All of those things are kind of playing on our addiction or our preference of sugary food. So a cool thing that I made the connection of is, like, if you think about Pop-Tarts, if you think about Gushers, if you think about you know, Sprite and all of these different sugary things, they all are trying to mimic fruit. You know, the fruit flavors, the blueberry, the strawberry, the lemon, lime, you know, they're just trying to pull off of what is naturally inherent within us, and they're manipulating us. So I don't know, when I found that out, I was really pissed, because I used to love Gushers and I used to love Sprite, and now I know why, you know, because I really actually just love fruit. And now that I've just been eating strawberries instead of a Pop-Tart that tastes like a strawberry, and blueberries rather than you know, custard or ice cream that tastes like blueberries, it's infinitely better. So just something to think about, you know, when you're in the grocery store. as far as it rotting your teeth, I understand that sugar is, you know, scary for people, but there are two different types of sugar. And, you know, the healthy kind, the glucose and the fructose that fruit produces, is completely different from the refined sugars of, say, you know, high fructose corn syrup, or, you know, icing on a chocolate cake. Those kind of sugars are much more dense. They have no fiber, so you can eat, you know, twice as much as you should be eating, and it's just really sticky. Whereas the fruit on, say, like a banana, falls right off your teeth. It may feel kind of grimy or sticky, but ultimately your saliva is much more efficient at removing that than it is of removing, say, caramel and candy and Jolly Rancher residue. So, you know, the other thing is, you know, dental hygiene is important. So, you know, drink a glass of water after you eat. Just swirl around water in your mouth after you eat, and all of that grime and all of that, whatever residue is left, will be gone. The next thing is that sugar is incredibly cheap and easy to produce. And ultimately, I think that it could easily solve world hunger. It could easily solve a lot of the problems that we have in the world, if more people realized the power, potency, and the growth cycle of fruit. So, you know, a lot of people like to eat vegetables. Well, one of the problems with vegetables is that after you pick it, you kind of destroy that plant, which means you have to uproot it and then plant another one. Whereas if you plant, say, an apple tree or an orange tree, or you know, a bell pepper you know, plant, it'll grow back every year, and it'll grow larger and produce more fruit. And then the fruit inside, or the fruit contains the seeds. So after you eat the fruit and you go plant the seeds, you know, a few yards down the way, you have another tree for next year. And it's just a perfect growth cycle. It makes so much sense to me that this is what we're supposed to be eating, because, you know, it is the pinnacle of the tree, right? It's the very essence that the tree is trying to do. It's producing the seed that is covered in a sugary, beautifully attractive, you know, shell that humans and animals and, you know, living things are attracted to. And once we eat them, either we, you know, poop them out, or we go and intentionally plant them somewhere else, and then that regenerates the cycle. And if we could do that all over the planet, you know, we could have fruit gardens at libraries, and we could have fruit gardens in our backyards. And instead of having, you know, silly seasonal flowers everywhere, we could have blueberry bushes and strawberry bushes, and, you know, we could have fruit for everyone, and we could provide for our neighbors. And I don't know, it's just so sustainable and so cool that I just don't understand why we haven't been promoting that. The other thing is that there are some fruits that people don't even realize are fruits. So tomatoes, for instance, avocados, bell peppers, jalapeno peppers, any kind of pepper, zucchini, squash, even olives, all of those things are fruits. So that just goes to show me that, hey, maybe olive oil isn't the worst thing in the world. And, you know, I like pasta sauce, and maybe there's a reason why. And it's totally okay to eat pasta sauce and guacamole and, you know, salsa and some of these things that you may not really think are fruits, but, you know, they really are. Anything that has a seed within the shell is considered a fruit, by the way. And, you know, a couple other unconventional things are like wine and coffee. You know, humans have a passion for both of those things. And the reason why, I think, is because coffee is a seed that comes from a fruit that we process and, you know, we roast and we turn it into a drink. So in moderation, I think that coffee is totally fine. Personally, I choose not to drink a lot of coffee, maybe on the weekend. It just gets me all jittery and worked up. But, you know, I think that it's totally okay and reasonable for humans to enjoy coffee just as much as it is wine. I really don't like alcohol, personally. I've had some bad experiences. I've been through some tough times with alcohol. So I choose to not drink it anymore. But I understand, you know, people have long days and we need to relax. Wine, I think, is a great option. You know, it's just fermented grapes. So in moderation, as long as you're not drinking the whole bottle, I think it's totally fine. So on to the things that I do not eat. One of the first and most kind of argumentative, controversial subjects is meat. So with meat, it is not appealing to me. So if I see a dead animal laying on the road, I don't want to go over and eat it. It's hard to digest. So for human beings, our intestines are, I can't remember the exact number, but like something like 8 times longer than, say, a cat's intestines. And cats are naturally, carnivores. And so that says to me that our bodies, our makeup isn't supportive of eating meat. So the reason that's significant is whenever the cats eat meat, it doesn't sit in their stomach for a long period of time. Whereas when humans eat it, it'll ferment, it'll rot, it'll block things up. It'll sit around in your stomach, and that produces acid, and the acid restricts flow, remember, and the restricted flow produces tumors, and tumors cause cancer. Not saying all meat causes cancer, but I'm just saying these are the things to think about. It also dehydrates your body. It's really expensive, and it's hard to produce. So if you've ever watched those documentaries on Netflix, I encourage you to. They're kind of hard to watch, but it's the truth. The chicken farms and the way that animals are raised nowadays with all the hormones and steroids, it's just completely appalling. It's really wasteful. I don't know, it's just really sad. So whenever I think about meat, I think all animals are meat. So a lot of people have pets and dogs and cats. Like how is that any different from, say, a chicken or a cow or a pig? People have pets as cows and things like that. So if you don't want me eating your dog, then maybe we shouldn't be eating cows and chickens. I know it's controversial. You can have your own opinion. That's totally fine. Just my way of thinking through these things. Also, our mouth, our teeth, and our hands aren't really made to eat meat. So when you think of a cat, he's got claws, he's got really sharp teeth, got the short intestine, wide mouth for ripping into flesh. Human beings, not so much. If you look at us, we have hands that articulate and are great for reaching and grabbing fruit and peeling the fruit. Our mouths are great at kind of mashing and mushing the pulp of oranges and bananas and apples. So maybe we were supposed to eat that kind of stuff. Also, that's what our ancestors ate. The foragers. It was predominantly fruit, nuts, and seeds. So something else to think about. The other thing that I choose not to eat is dairy. That kind of goes hand in hand with meat because it's also expensive to produce. It's also, not really attractive. I used to just hate cheese growing up, and now I know why. It looks like repulsive. It looks like mucus. It's really thick and gloopy and hardens in room temperature, which if you think about when you eat it, hardens in your stomach. Same concept as meat, hard to digest. It's acidic. So the reason, dairy and meat are acidic is because whenever you eat them, your body has to produce acid in order to break it down. Whereas when you eat, say, like an orange or a lemon, your body has to produce the reverse, which is, alkalinity, to break it down. So eating acid doesn't mean that it's acidic. It's kind of like the opposite. So yeah, that is also, really bad for you. It restricts flow. Yogurt, believe it or not, is the leading cause of breast cancer, which a lot of women probably don't know. And you see the Yoplait yogurt with the breast cancer awareness sticker on top. It kind of blows me away, but makes sense why they would promote that. And the last thing that I don't eat, I don't eat a lot of, is fruit. It's vegetables. I eat a lot of fruit, but vegetables and leafy greens and plants, things like that. So this may be really weird for a lot of people. And the reason that I don't eat a lot of greens, even though it's promoted everywhere, is because they're not really appealing. They're harder to digest, like grass and leaves and things like that. for things like cows, which have multiple stomachs, they're capable of filtering that through, and it's much easier for them to digest. We only have one stomach, so it's just a lot more difficult for us to process all of those, hard cells, and it's a starchy kind of makeup, whereas fruit is very fluid and flowing, much like our bodies. And there's not a lot of water content in vegetables. Obviously, when you soak it, like broccoli and zucchini, well, zucchini is a fruit, but broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, things like that, they will absorb a lot of water. And I'm not saying vegetables are bad. Like, I love vegetables. I will eat them if they're around. I'm just saying predominantly I stick to fruit, and that's kind of my reasoning behind it. And the last thing I want to talk about is how much should we eat. That is completely up to you. That is your opinion. I'm not going to tell you how much you should eat, but I do believe moderation is key with anything, including drugs, alcohol, food. I mean, anything in life, moderation is key. So you just have to be honest with yourself, be able to tell yourself enough is enough, and not eat the entire cake when it is sitting in front of you. The other thing to consider is consumption versus exertion. So consider, if you're working out every day and wanting to build body mass, you're going to need to consume more, as opposed to someone who sits in an office for 8 hours and drives home and then sits on the couch and watches TV, that are not exerting a lot of physical energy. They're going to need to eat a lot less. So it's just a balance between consumption and exertion. And the best way, in my opinion, to get healthy fast, to lose weight, to achieve your goals, the best solution is to fast. Ultimately, if you stop consuming, your body has to eat something, and so it'll start to eat away at the fat, it'll start to eat away at the excess, and you will feel much, much better, because things will start to break up, you'll be more fluid, and you'll be ready to go. I don't suggest you fast, all the time. I tried that for a while. It kind of wears on you morally, mentally, your happiness. It's stressful. So it is, it's just an option if you're looking to lose a lot of weight and if you're trying to achieve your goals. And I think that it should, be considered a lot more than, say, some of these fad diets. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you learned something. I really hope you can think about things a little differently. Be sure to leave some comments if you think that I'm in the wrong, or if you have some suggestions on my diet. I'd be happy to hear them. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.